Hey everyone, Stakas here from Stakas, here with the lovely Erin from Foundry 42 and Star Citizen, and we're very, very happy to have you here.
Oh, well, thank you very much, and it's great to be here and actually really enjoying Australia so far, first time in the country.
That's fantastic. So you guys have been super busy getting stuff ready for the first chunk of the Squadron 42.
Yep, now we're basically working really hard on getting together. There's so many elements of Squadron 42 because it pretty much touches everything, and so we've been working on some of the capital ship stuff, which is starting to look really good. And if anyone who comes around to our offices in the UK, we love showing the stuff off. And then of course, obviously, big part of Arena Command is something we work on as well in the UK, because that's a big part of the space combat stuff.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of the Vandals all off being worked on for our big opening sequence in Squadron 42, which should be really cool.
Very cool.
And then so just basically, it's a lot of different elements we're going to be pulling together over the next few months, so we can sort of unleash Squadron 42 on you guys next year.
Oh, that would be awesome. Actually, just a really small side question about the Vandal themselves. I've had a lot of the guys on the cast and some of our viewers ask me specifically about the Cutlass ad and the animation of the Vandal in that. A lot of them were worried that it looked a little too cartoony, not sort of as high definition as we'd seen the artwork.
Are you talking about the actual fidelity of the actual character or the animation, or a bit of both?
A bit of both. I think they just got the idea that it felt a little cartoony.
I think the idea about the advert is it's meant to be a bit sort of like the idea is it's meant to be sort of a funny take on.
Yeah.
It's not actually obviously in the advert they probably did get a real Vandal to basically be in the cockpit for the filming of the advert. So I think the idea is that kind of, it was meant to be that kind of comedy thing to it. But the animation of Vandal is certainly not complete by any way on Special Destination. So we're actually working on a lot of the cycles and stuff, and it's actually the animation cycles and the actual look and feel of them.
Yeah.
And it's an incredibly big important part of Squadron 42, so we make sure we get that right.
You're right. No,
because the Vandal, when you meet a Vandal for the first time, they've got to be scary, and you're going to there'll be some serious face-to-face stuff going on with them.
Awesome! I can't wait. Yeah, no, I had a lot of people saying, "Oh, but it's not finished, it's not ready," and I said, "You know what? I think it's just supposed to be funny."
Yeah, no, that's the idea. Was it's just sort of a tongue-in-cheek sort of commercial,
sort of Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner type deal.
Yeah, that was the whole idea. So it's like obviously it's that kind of thing. Yeah, and then those are the ideas about the commercials. Is basically it's more sort of like just a fun take on stuff.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so we'll get into the questions here. A couple of these have been submitted by backers and viewers that we've got at home. So basically, it's the new hardware and the new software technology. As you're making the game becomes more available, is there a temptation to implement this new stuff as it comes out?
I think what we tend to do is we drive the project by the resources available, and so forth. So the level of fidelity we're going for in the game right now is obviously a lot higher than it would have been like we were thinking about sort of 12-24 months ago, basically because obviously the crowdfunding is going incredibly well, and there's resources available to really just push stuff. So what we tend to do is use the sort of funds available to really just push it on development and do everything else. So if we have stuff like obviously examples of stuff we never thought we could do originally, like PBR, or something we put in. I don't think there was never really going to be like a hanger sort of at right at the beginning, stuff to do that kind of thing. So what we always do is we look at what makes sense. So, and also we'd like to actually work closely with other people. So if there's technologies out there, sort of procedural generation and so forth, that makes a lot of sense for the game, then we'll go talk to other people about how we can get that inclusive in the game. So we actually reach out to a lot of other developers to see if there's ways we can tie into them so they can use that technology we have, and we can also give them some of our stuff and so forth. So it just really comes down to, is it going to make a better gaming experience? Is it going to help improve the development process? And if the answer is yes, then we'll go ahead and do it. If the answer is, well, we're not sure or no, then obviously we stay clear.
Sure, great. So I guess that kind of leads into the Warhorse character customization from Kingdom Come Deliverance. You guys have been working very closely with them to for the outfitting and the character slots.
We've definitely had contacts with them, they've been really cool about basically letting us see their stuff and safe and things like that. I mean, we're still working on whether we're going to go that route or we're going to take a different route. So at the moment,
Sure.
but basically, yes, that's an example of people we reach out to and have a chat, and it's a great to be able to work with other developers to do this kind of thing.
Because they were working with the CryEngine as well, weren't they?
And stuff. I believe so. I'm not actually quite
I
sure.
was pretty sure that was the idea, because you're both working with CryEngine, although yours is a much more mutated version of CryEngine, because it was now 3.6, 3.7 or something.
Yeah, we usually about a couple of releases behind, typically because our code base is actually heavily customized, and so we have to be, because Cry's obviously is a ground-based tactical shooter type engine, and of course we've got loads of changes we have to do to make it in terms of like the big world physics, the double position of floating point, 64-bit, all these changes we make, which means that when we actually get a new drop from Cry, it's not just as easy as it would be for other people just to drop it in and use it. You actually have to go in and actually make a bunch of fundamental changes, and so it takes us longer. So typically, and also we need to make sure we're doing those changes at the right times, because you don't want to do it just before we're doing the drop for the community, because it could just if things go wrong, it could wipe out a release date, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we try and be pretty good about it, but yeah, typically we're usually slightly behind, and sometimes we'll pull in. If we really need a part of it, we'll actually pull just that section in, to help us out and so forth and things like that. But yeah, that's it's not as easy for us anymore, because we've got a lot of code which is custom.
You guys are obviously working very close with Moon Collider and their Hythera system, because obviously NPCs and storytelling is going to be a very important part of Squadron 42. How interactive will the NPCs be through the story mission of?
So it's really important actually. It's one of the big things we want to do is have a very immersive experience with the characters. If we want it to be so you feel like when you talk to someone that they actually respond to what you're saying and they respond to you as well. So if you go in and you behave a certain way, and it isn't just in terms of the way you speak, but it's the way you act, and that's also the same things for them. It's not just the way they talk to you; it's the way they act to you as well. Because, obviously, picture speaks 1,000 words, and so the idea is when you go in a room, we want it to be like, if you look around a room, typically you walk in, you can pretty much tell straight away if there's people who are receptive to conversation or people who just don't even want to talk to you. And so the whole system will be revolved around that, where you'll know when you walk in, will people make eye contact with you? Will they sort of turn their back on you? Will they just look down and look at their
Mobiglass.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm busy.
I'm busy and stuff like that. Exactly. And then when you go and talk to them, the way they react to you, and also at first people may want to talk to you, but then if I walk up to you and just engage in conversation, and you start talking to me, and I just turn my back on you and start looking at the ceiling, doing whatever, you're going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
And the idea is then in the system, characters, it's not just individual characters as well as organisation stuff will remember this sort of stuff. And so if you go, well, screw you, you're not talking to me, so if I come back to you, next time I walk in, you're going to sort of look at me and just go, you have to stay, whatever. And I may have to go in there and mend some bridges with you.
Right.
You don't want to talk to me, like that. Or I don't, but you don't talk to me the next time you don't want to talk to me, whereas someone else may want to, and so forth. And so how you deal with people will be based on how they deal with you. Now that's on an individual level, but also you'll have a level of how you're perceived by an organisation and how you're doing something. So say in Squadron 42, if you're doing extremely well and you're the best pilot out there and you're kicking ass, then you can have a lot of respect from the crew. People start, they'll salute you and so forth. Now, you may be when you get to conversations with individuals, you may just be a complete idiot. And so these guys, but everybody will respect you as a doing well pilot, but also on an individual basis, they just won't want to know you.
Right.
And so there's a number of different levels which are layered in to make sure that basically, that it's sort of realistic in terms of how people react to it. It's like, there's loads of people you know who you respect do a really good job,
right,
but you just wouldn't spend a time of day with them.
Right.
And so a lot of it when they play off on that is how the player reacts to people and they do and so forth. And the player will put in situations where there will be characters who are just not nice people.
Sure.
And the player will have to deal with that as well. And maybe if the player decides to have relationships with some people, other people, because they just don't like each other, then they get annoyed about that as well.
Will that then affect if you're, say, really mean or rude to potentially your squad mates, like the AI squad mates that you have, whether that be in space combat or in FPS, will that then affect their ability as like a team when you're playing the game?
Oh no, absolutely. If you go in and you just have pissed off all your wingmen, and then you go out and then you ask for help in the situation and so forth, they're going to be less. It's the military, so you'd really have to work hard for them just to completely leave you in it.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you do that and annoy people, then they're more than likely going to go and just get around to helping you out, or not doing it, or having other things to do and so forth. So it is important to have these relations. Whereas if you have a really good relationship with certain individuals, then they're more likely to come and cover you. For instance, you could be completely screwing up and failing all missions, but you have to have a really good relationship with your wingman. So when you're out there, even though everyone sort of perceives you, when you walk around the ship, they're sort of shaking their head or just like, what are you doing? But the wingman will still come and bail you out because they like you, because individually you're nice to and so forth and things like that.
So could that mean that potentially if you're in an FPS engagement and you've basically done almost on purpose, gone out of your way to really alienate your squad, and you get hit and drop down, that they potentially might not come and rescue you?
Right, yeah, maybe they won't drag you back to the med bay, absolutely.
Wow.
So because
that's pretty awesome.
if you get to that level of, if you really get to that level of really pissing guys off so they hate you that
go
much,
out of your way.
It's like it's like why are they going to go out of their way to risk themselves for someone who's basically. And I think that's kind of, and I kind of hope that people will actually do it, try it out, because they can always go back and I guess reload, and it's quite sort of that.
Right.
But I mean, it's sort of like, it'd be kind of like fun for sometimes in Squadron 42 and that sort of happens. In the persistent universe, it's kind of different because your ratings are affected all the time. So if you just go out and do that, then your perceptions, you have to work to get your perceptions back on. But that's, if you want to play that type of character, that's the way you want to role play, then you're going to be able to do that.
Sure. I mean, that kind of leads me to, you're talking about you can kind of reload in Squadron 42, but in the PU you kind of can't. During the video that you guys were showing the latest grey boxing of the Shubin station, which I have to congratulate you guys on, looks absolutely fantastic at the moment.
Yeah, the guys did a great job on it.
You guys have been working really hard. You also mentioned that in engagements in places like Shubin Station, particular outcomes may affect what happens to you in the persistent universe.
Yeah, I mean, definitely relationships you make, things that happen in Squadron 42. Squadron 42, the timelines before persistent universe, then that will affect how the stuff that will happen in the persistent universe. So, there'll be the obvious stuff like, when you muster out and you get some cool weapons, maybe some money and stuff like that. That's just but also, relationships. If if you're really close to, say, a wingman and you help them out and so forth, and later on in this universe, if you go to their planet and so forth, then maybe their family helps you out and so forth, things like that, or you get a discount somewhere because of stuff you get yourself and things like that. So we want to make it so there is, once you go through, and the actions you take will affect what happens in this universe to a level in terms of that. And obviously you can then control that. You can then decide to go into this universe and do something different, and that'll change people's perception of you.
That's unreal. It's fantastic. And I think that kind of thinking is something that pretty much all of the backers and everyone that supports present your vision of this game is. We really love the fact that what you do means something in the game.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, just that's what you want, right? You want to make the actions you take, fundamentally change things, later on and so forth. And but obviously you can, like in any system or in the real world, if you it's all happened to us all. You fall out with a good friend or something. You can always make up later. Sometimes you don't.
Sometimes.
But usually, you have a conversation and sort it out. And I think that's kind of where it should be. If people, get annoyed and do something like that. And before that, they can sort of, they've got a way of getting back in. Sometimes you maybe burn bridges, and sometimes you can fix them as well.
That's fantastic. Earlier, Chris mentioned that the script of Squadron 42 was sort of exploding beyond 300, almost 400 pages for all of the combined sort of dialogue, and that due to time constraints, or at that time that he mentioned it, that it might have to get cut down, because I think he said that the Wing Commander movie script was only like 150, not even 200 pages long. But you're making something that's almost twice as big as that. Have you revised the scripts since then, and will that affect the storytelling?
Well, I mean, we're splitting up into 5 chapters. Each chapter is working out to be 30 plus missions right now. So and we reckon we're talking about 10 to 20 hours of gameplay per chapter. So when the whole of Squadron 42 is done, we're looking at 50, 100 hours, which is probably about, to be honest, each chapter is like any other AAA title you'll get there to learn. And so the script size is across all 5 chapters.
Sure.
And because we're splitting the chapters up, we feel it's a bit more management to do and stuff like that. So we are going to deliver a huge amount of content through the Squadron 42 campaigns. We've got a big story to tell. But yeah, we kind of feel like it's manageable because we are going to split it into 5 chunks.
Have you guys is there any concern that splitting it up into those chunks will create some sort of like a bit of disjointedness in the what's the word I'm looking for, in the storyline, or is it more like a cliffhanger at the end?
Yeah, no, we're definitely, exactly. We're each segment is a story, is part of the story itself, and there's a beginning and ending, and then it moves on. I mean, really think of it as sort of Star Wars. Each one of them is an episode, and things like that. We just wanted to. We've got a really strong story we'd tell. It wasn't a story we felt we could tell. We could tell it in say, one game, as it were.
Right.
And so basically, what we've done is said, well, we're actually going to give. I mean, if the community wants to look at it this way, we basically promised one game, Squadron 42, and actually what we're going to end up delivering is 5 at the end of the day. And we were going to do it, and that kind of stuff, things like that. But we feel very strongly about, kind of doing that. And so basically, everyone's going to get a lot more, from that and so forth. But we obviously want to get the first section out next year for everyone, and then we'll just keep on building on it. And there'll be like something nice that'll come. We're looking at every 6 months, another chapter, and so forth.
So you kind of done a Lord of the Rings where it was originally one book, but then you've broken it down into 3 individual, but
right, exactly, yeah. Because otherwise, it was going to be too much of a compromise for the story, trying to fit too much in. Creating the content for what we do. I mean, if you just look at the ships we build, the level of fidelity we just to build, say, the Gladius, that's like a 4 or 5 month ship, and that's a little fighter. We're building these carriers, which are like a kilometre long. We've got the Panther, which is 750 metres long. We've got the destroyer we're building in there. We've also got the Idris, which play a big part of the Squadron 42 campaign as well. And so, and the content, and then you look at Shubin, which is 6 kilometres. It's got 26 landing pads, and you can go. It's got big internal areas you can run around in. And so the problem is you can't, to do the level of fidelity, to that immersion that we want. The great thing about Squadron 42, and I think that's why the community is really involved in it, is we just want to push it to a level that's never been seen before. Yeah. And so to do that, we can't deliver all that content in one go. We just don't have the manpower. Even if we outsource, we wouldn't have that to do it. So what we're saying is right. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it in chunks. We're going to give people a huge amount of gameplay, with each chapter all the way along. And that's how we're going to manage the situation. No. But we can focus then on the content where it needs to be for each of those chapters, and then we've got more time to build the content for each of the other chapters.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when they hear about Star Citizen. They think, it's a persistent universe with people sort of flying around shooting each other, but they don't realise that you're creating such a in-depth and immersive storyline and so much gameplay. Like recently we just sort of the release of Borderlands, the original Borderlands 2 game, lots and lots of side quests, lots of storyline, and hundreds of hours of gameplay if you do every little bit. The latest one that came out, you'd be lucky if there's maybe 30, 35 hours of gameplay in a AAA title, but you guys are giving sort of like you said, 50 to maybe 100 hours if you stretch.
Oh yeah,
everything
no,
out.
absolutely, and I think those are based on our playthroughs. I mean, I sat through a playthrough of our sort of like a vertical slice level, and just them literally doing a run through of exactly, you go here, you do this is what you have to do. So I'm not even going around the other things you can do. I mean, it took us, I was in the meeting room for about an hour and 15 minutes just for that, you know, and so you can imagine if someone's actually playing it, it's going to take twice, 3 times longer, just when, you know, because this is basically someone who knows exactly how the level's meant to work,
That's
doing
right,
exactly
you know,
what it's meant to do it all the way through, not discovering stuff, not doing side stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
So no, we feel really good about what we're delivering, and also, you know, and then our ability to also, because the important thing as well, the reason why we want to do this is because if you try and do too much content, then the quality of the content suffers. And everything about Star Citizen is about having this huge level of detail and fidelity, so people feel like they're actually living in this sort of like universe. And if you rush this sort of stuff, and then or you try and do too much, then the quality is going to drop. And then, you know, that's not what Star Citizen is about. We're trying to make something which is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, not just the best space sim ever, but the best game ever. You know, that's
Well, it's leveling up to get, you know, to be in that league where, irrespective of the genre of game, the immersion, the storytelling, the in-depth detail of the worlds that you're creating, like from the PU sneak peek that we got at CitizenCon, it just looks so living.
That's amazing. I mean, you know, basically Star Citizen is a first-person game. That's what it is. That uses vehicles. It's not like, you know, it's kind of like, because I was Space Command said, yeah, it is, where you get into a vehicle and fly it, but it's not like, you know, if you look at the old Wing Commanders, you did just, you're in space and then you land and you walk around and click on stuff and so forth. This is, you're actually in first person, and one of the, you know, going back to what you said about, you know, what can we do with it is one of the big things we've done is because of, you know, the extra great, you know, funding that's come in, is the level we're pushing that first person, the ground-based and so forth, is much greater than we would have originally done to start with, because we wouldn't have had the resources and funds to do that. And so just bringing this all together is, you know, you basically start a thing and you're walking around and then you choose to get in a vehicle, and maybe choose to get in a larger vehicle with some friends, and you go someplace and you explore and you get to do you want to mine, do you want to, take someone somewhere, do you want to just, you know, go and do some para activity, do you want to go and do some bounty stuff, so all that kind of stuff. And that's the whole sort of area we want to create, but we want to do it in such a level of scale of detail that, some people laugh, we've got our toilets, it's like, yeah, because at the end of the day, you're on a ship, and where do you sleep, what to do, all that kind of stuff. It's got to be believable, you've got to understand how you live there, what you do, and so forth, things like that.
Yeah, and all of those small things are what help create that living and breathing.
When we model all the ships, like even to the level of these capital ships we're doing, we go through and whitebox every single room, every corridor, how it's going to work. We're doing a lot of modular development, so you know, like we don't have to model everything, but we can basically just put stuff in. But there's also, where the people, as I say, where they sleep, where they go here, where the break rooms, how do the hangars work, how the ships get moved and so forth. So everything's a level of detail that, as a player, we want people just to sit there and stand and just watch stuff going on around them and just go, wow, this is actually a fully operational working ship. And that's what takes time to really get right. Because it's easy just to make some rooms and have a guy sitting there looking at a wall or tapping this, for that. But actually making it so people go and do jobs and do things like that, and then you go, and if you walk to the break room at lunchtime, and guys are walking in and getting some food, and sitting down and eating, and so like having all that. Yeah, exactly. That's what you want, though. You want that feeling that this is a working operational ship. Or when you go to places, there's people there doing things for a reason.
Are you going to go to the level of detail that if everyone was sitting down having their morning tea or something, and someone's got a coffee and they're having, then all of a sudden something happened and the gravity went off in the ship, that all your stuff will start floating around?
No, absolutely. That's all completely going to be in the system. It all just falls out of the system.
Yeah.
So we can do, if you're in sort of areas, I mean, we can handle that two ways. One, we can always script that sort of stuff out very easily if we have an event we want to do in the mission stuff. Yeah. But also, just in terms of people doing stuff, if let's say you're wandering around your ship in a PU, for instance, and then someone gets in, and takes the engine room and takes out the gravity and so forth, then people just automatically, because we basically just turn off gravity and people just start floating. And then they'll straight away know. The AI will then know that they need to go into sort of, the animation sets that change, they know what they're doing and pushing off. And then for guys who maybe have jetpacks on, will then know to use those. Guys who've got mag boots on will then switch them on and they'll attach down and so forth. They'll all just fall out of the system.
That's fantastic. And that's all going to be through the Kythera system.
Yeah, no, all that kind of stuff. They're working on, when they're working on the space combat stuff as well, they're working on the PU ground base in terms of people's job systems. So, you know, and there's a little, I think I showed a little clip of it in the Star Citizen stuff, but you have like, you know, people know if you're in a bar, the guy behind the bar knows where to walk to serve someone. People know to walk in where to sit and so forth. And all these little job systems are where people know how to do things. That's the rudiments of making it feel alive, things like that. And all you do is then type animations through that. And then you just need to know if you walk up to someone, then they can pull out their animation set, and then that's when the AI takes over, they respond to you and they talk. Or if they don't want to talk to you,
Yeah,
it's like,
don't.
you know, wave off.
Choose not to. I don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. We've got the FPS sneak peek going on tonight at the event. What kind of ratio of first-person combat to space combat will we expect to get in Squadron 42?
I reckon it's going to be about 30 to 40% ground to about 60 to 70% space in terms of that sort of gameplay. It depends how much. Because the interstitials are on the ships, I mean, it could be higher, because you can spend a long time just wandering around your cap ship doing stuff, and then also we have, you know, obviously stuff will happen on ships as well. This isn't really just like, it was in other games where you're on a ship and you go have coffee, tea, talk to your women, leave. It's like, you know, stuff can go down on the ship.
Right.
So, you know, it's like, you know, I don't want to go too far, but it's like, you know, your base ship is also, you know, if you like, is a mission or a level can be and stuff like that. Things can happen and stuff like that as well there as well. So.
Sweet. And I mean, will that ratio of first person to air combat maybe change in the different modules? Like the first chapter might be slightly heavier air combat, and then the second one might be slightly heavier first person.
It depends. I think we try and balance it, so you know most of the missions have components of, well, they all have components of, you know, you're on first person, you're on the ground, and then you choose you go into a vehicle, you go do stuff and things like that. And then you know there's lots of missions where, you know, I'll just, you know, almost like more like objectives we call them, rather than missions, but where you'll get up, you have to go somewhere, you have to land somewhere, you have to walk around, you have to find something, you get up, you go and repel, you know, some guys attacking, you get back, do you do that by manning a turret on a station, or do you get up a spaceship and start flying that way as well? We'll have to give choices about this kind of stuff. And
so it's not just a set sort of linear path.
Yeah,
you have the ability to
to make different choices and that kind of stuff. So that's the idea behind it. So that's kind of the way, you know, the structure works. You know, it's hard to tell you exactly what the basis is, but it's basically, you know, we want to have that experience where you are, you know, you're the player, and then you choose, you know, am I going to be in a vehicle, am I not, and stuff like that. And obviously in some cases you have to be in a vehicle.
Yeah.
You can't get from A to B. You know?
Yeah, there are specific plot points that have to be reached, but what happens in between those is sort of up to you.
Oh yeah, so, I mean you can get out of your ship and you can just jet around on your jetpack if you want, around the outside or something, you know, and go through a different entrance and stuff like that.
Totally. That's awesome. That's fantastic. So where are we on this? Alright, so a few guys from the viewers and the backers have asked about the difficulty sort of progression or settings in Squadron 42. Will it just get harder as you progress through the missions, or will there be a level setting that you can set the difficulty to?
So there'll be two things. I mean, at the beginning you'll obviously there'll be sort of like not tutorials, I hate tutorials, but there'll be sort of a ramp up where we basically introduce a lot of the different sort of like how things work all the way through, and so that'll be probably done. You know, the plan is to do that by basically upgrades to your ship and so forth, systems and all that. So you basically have a basic set that goes on the first few missions as you get through and you get more confident stuff. So that's the basic, just learning the process and learning the different things your ship can do and so forth. Now, obviously for our community, you know, who've been with us forever, that'll be just second nature and so like that. But obviously any new players that come along, that'll be good for them. But we also, yes, will have sort of different levels as well. So there'll be like a sort of setting we feel is a good setting to play. But then we also, one of the things that came through actually the forums, which we definitely liked and want to put in. I was talking to one of the guys in the forums, was basically we're going to put sort of like an Iron Man mode in there as well.
All right.
So you basically you play but you cannot save, and so basically you can save but you can't reload, and so you basically go through, and if you can finish it without dying, then there'll probably be some rewards and stuff. So we'll know about that as well.
It's a hardcore mode. It's just...
Now, for some of the guys really just want like the idea of just going through and seeing if they can make through. Of course, we'll have to work out how you get past the obvious cheats of unplugging your computer just before you die.
Yeah.
Like that. But,
what is it? Alt F4. And how will, if you decide to play Squadron 42 through at a fairly difficult level, how will the NPCs in the universe, in the persistent universe, then compare? Will there be like a level of graduating difficulty of your opponents as you sort of go further away from the protected systems, or is it sort of just up to chance? How difficult?
In the persistent universe, I mean, basically you have the UE control space, and that's heavily policed. So if you decide in a UE control space that you're going to go and attack some poor guy, then you can pretty much expect that there'll be a bounty on your head, and you'll get attacked by UE, and also not just by AI, but also a bounty will go out to a lot of the players saying so and so is basically a pirate, it's pretty much what you are, and you are now free to attack at any point. So in UE control space, you can't just go and attack people. Now, you could maybe get away with it if no one else is around, because that's the rule. Stuff is like no one's there, and no one can see it, or there's no stuff like that. But if you just start attacking people and people know about it, then you become basically a target yourself. And that's how we kind of are going to control sort of briefing in terms of that stuff like that. So you can go and do it, but then your life will get pretty miserable because people then just go after you all the time because you are now a target, and it's all right for anybody to go after you to do that. Now, however, if you are far where it's unpoliced in the sort of fringe areas, then yes, it's not controlled by you. You go and do stuff out there, then you can pretty much get away with taking people out and so forth. And I think this will attract certain players who want to remain a bit more safe might stay within the UE stuff, or if they're going to go out that area, they may just hire a bunch of protection, or go with their group and just get so they go together. But then there'll be other players who we know there's loads of people who want to do it. They'll get their pirate base somewhere, and they'll just which will be on something. They'll go wait out in some high traffic lanes where there's high risk cargoes coming through, and so forth.
You touched on the fabled, if a crime happens out in uncharted space, did it ever really happen? No one's there to see it. Did it really happen?
And also the other big thing is so things will go at the speed of information. So if you do something way out in the middle of nowhere, but someone knows you have done it, it is in our system. It's not instantaneous. You don't all of a sudden everybody doesn't know you've done something wrong. So you literally could commit a crime and just really fast jump through system, and you can go and do stuff before anybody knows actually you committed that crime.
Sure. Because
the way information passes is it has to passes by speed. Between jump points there are basically I guess sort of the antenna which sends information between. But between different areas of space, it still has to be information has to be carried. Sure. So you can open up stuff where you might commit some crime, and then you go really fast to some location and make use of what you can before anybody knows about it, and you get out of there before they know about it.
Yeah. Does that mean you can kind of create your own alibi, maybe, by being in a certain part of space, committing a crime, someone maybe witnesses it and sends a message, but you're fast enough to get somewhere else and start doing something else?
I'm not sure you can create an alibi, but you can certainly, if you plan your thing out, you can certainly. If there's, let's say you grab something that you can only cash in a certain place,
right.
You could literally grab it, move, cash it in,
do it
before anybody knows that actually what your goods are, what the problem is, so they don't get out.
Okay.
And then of course, and of course we are going to have, we'll give the player the ability to, in the sort of best sort of capitalist fashion that they can also go and sort of pay down fines to stuff to get stuff. So if we don't have a situation where you do something, there'll be a cost to it, and so we probably will allow the player to, pay off their guilt.
Right.
In the system. So if you're going through some bad things, stuff that you want to go clean your record, we'll probably have some ways of doing it. I don't think we'll make it ridiculously easy because we want to have. There needs to be. We don't feel just able to kill someone off.
Yeah, and
go
they go, here's some money.
But I think there'll have to be some ways that you can actually fix the situation.
Sure. I mean, that kind of leads me a few people were asking specifically about this situation. We've had a lot of conversations in our own sort of backers group about if someone has committed a crime and then it's been witnessed, what kind of proof is required to be submitted to actually prove that that crime was committed? And how do you guys, as like the behind the scenes of the game, actually interpret that information?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the game stuff, it'll just be taken that if a crime's committed and someone else is there, then it's taken as the information's being passed. So you don't have to. The player doesn't like. If I come across, you're getting taken out with some other guy and see that guy doing it. I specifically, as a player, don't have to do something, anything. This basically will just be taken as that crime's been committed, and because I was there, the system will know and then start passing that information.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like you actually have to go in and papers in.
Yeah, right.
Because that would be, that would be, I think, just like a complicated step and things like that. Yeah. But basically, it's just taken as yes, that's out there. It's automated system. The ship's seen, something like that, and it's automated.
Right. Okay. Well, that answers a lot of questions. We're like, but how does that work? What sort of information do they need? Do you have to then go and report it, and then they go, well, can you prove you got mugged? It's like, yeah, of course, there was a guy. Oh, but he doesn't reckon you got mugged,
Yeah, and it depends also. It depends where you are. Like if you're in UE space, then you're pretty much going to get nailed caught for it. But if you're out there in the middle of nowhere, a lot of the stuff, if there's no way information's passed, because some of these places will not have no information passes, and so the information won't get out there.
Is that maybe also an area where some like bribery and something like that could come into play, where if there is some sort of unofficial law keeper out there and someone gets mugged and they go just to them and says, oh, I got mugged, but the guy who mugged him's paid him off and said, you saw nothing?
I think what will happen in that case is, because there's two sides to it. You've got the AI side, which is basically the sort of police, what the UE care about. Yeah. And there's the side which is going to be community policed, right, where basically, you get mugged out there, they mugged you, go back to your group and say, this guy's basically just sitting there grieving me, and then your guys then you can put a hit out of him, right? Sure. You can say, right, look out to your guys, let's look out for this guy, and he's like doing that, and then maybe his guys go, wait a second. And that's the self-policing side of it. So I think when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, that's the law of that's the law. That's the beauty of the sandbox situation. It's like that's where the community will start policing itself. And so what we'd like to see is maybe they'll be like. The communities will vote certain people to become sort of peacekeepers, and then basically go out there and their job is to be fair and do that stuff. And if people don't like it, then there's kind of something to that. But that's kind of my hope is that all these roles will be just created, and because they're completely supported by the system. So people can be I want to be. We're the bounty hunters out here, but and there'll be some bounty hunters who will take anything, just because it's a hit. Yeah. And there'll be the bank hunters go, no, we're upholding the law and this is what we do right, and so forth. Yeah. And then at that point, then it may well be that they ask, and the community asks for evidence and say, well, how can you prove this guy killed you? And you grab a screenshot and send it through, or whatever it is, right? And that's the proof that the community wants to have. But the beauty about this stuff is the community just come up with all these things, and then all this stuff. And this is where it really then makes the game even better, is because then, as we see this on the development side and stuff's really working, and then we see something go, you know what, actually we should formalise this. And so then when we do it, because the whole game is a 10-year plan. Yeah. We're not just going to deliver something and then just say, right, that's it guys, it's literally we're going to be updating and putting more stuff into that. But what we do is, if we see a system that works really well community, then we'll probably formalise it and give the better tools for community so they can actually do wanted posters and whatever within the game and stuff like that, and so forth, things like that.
That's unbelievable.
So that's the great thing about it. That's what I love about building the game and the way we're doing it. Because it's not just, it's like the community is such a huge part of it, and also because the community is involved so early in the process, we know we're going to have the experience will be really good when we get to the level of actually getting people into the PU. But also, the flavour of all these kind of things, there's already stuff we're doing now, which we wouldn't have done, without the community's feedback. And then by then as well, we can really just work in, what's stuff that we watch all the time, what people do and go, wow, that's amazing. All right, let's try and do that kind of stuff.
It's fantastic. All right. And the final thing is, this is, get rid of that. On behalf of the Starcast and Star Citizen community, we have
Oh wow, cool.
you with your own official Starcast crew shirt.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much.
The Star Citizen sponsors on the back.
This is great actually. I've got like I'll be wearing this week. So all my shirts will be completely dirty by the time I go back to England. So I'll get this stuff on.
Starcast made possible by all the sponsors.
That's brilliant.
As a sign of appreciation from us. And,
I mean, like I said, thank you very much. And I'd say, as always, it's like we're the guys who should thank you guys because without you guys' support, we can't make this game, and we're really enjoying making this game. It's just and it's just the best way to develop.
I think it's a mutual agreement. We help you guys make the game, and you make the games for us.
And it is just. So 27 years of doing this, and this is by far the best way to develop when you've got the support of the large community, and you can just keep on iterating and feeding back and just getting stuff and working together for everybody. It actually allows us to make the game better and faster in a lot of ways because of that iteration, because of the feedback and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's if anyone's been around the different offices and so forth and things like that, the one kick we always get is having community members round and just showing them all the kind of stuff we're doing, because even on the development side, it means just as much to the guys who actually see the people you're making the game for and showing them the cool stuff they're doing. Because on the development side, typically you get locked away for a few years, and game comes out and you hope it does well, or people feedback well. But in this one, people get to show stuff, and then they get to actually put stuff out on a regular basis and get feedback from it and so forth. It makes a big difference. So people see their work and see people's reaction to their work immediately, which is really good.
Yeah, pretty much all of the people I've ever spoken to have either visited the Santa Monica office or the Austin office. They come back and they're just gobsmacked. They just, and everyone's always super friendly. Everyone's keen to stop what they're doing and show them what's going on.
Because it's like it means as much to the development guys, and it really does. It's like you imagine, we're all the same, and it's like for guys to actually be able to show what they're working on and see that reaction to what people think and get feedback is massive for us, and it really does, really just help, everything morale, the guys, the stuff, things like that. So
we hope that this continues and it ends up culminating in the best damn Space Sim and the best game.
It will. I mean, I think like I said, I have no doubt whatsoever, just because of the collaborative process and the way we're doing it, the way we're iterating. It's just because if we do something and it doesn't quite work, you know what? We put another update out there, and so that's how we make that great game. Because it's this process going forward.
People often ask us when they hear how much a lot of us have pledged for the game and why we support something, why $59 million has been pledged to something that's not even really finished yet, and it's not almost a tangible question that you can answer. It's just like we trust it. We trust you. We trust Chris.
Absolutely, and it's actually very humbling, and it's why we really just want to knock this out of the park. I mean, it is an extraordinary feeling to know that people put that much trust in what we're doing, and it's actually, it's a lot of pressure, but also it's very good pressure.
Sure.
Because it's the best pressure ever. Because basically a lot of people have said, this is what we want, we believe in you, these are our dreams for a product, and then basically they trust in you to actually make that happen. And everyone in the company, when we're in meetings and doing everything, it's always about how can we make the best thing of it, what can we do this, how can we improve this. That's what we talk about every day. So it does really add to the energy and stuff and things, and like we don't, and also we just we're not going to compromise. We are going to make it again,
and we all want to see it happen. So Erin Roberts, I thank you very much for your time. You've been very generous.
Cheers.
We're going to sign out. Sergeant Stakas from Starcast, thanking Erin and all the guys. We wish you the best of luck tonight on the FPS reveal.
Oh, cool. No, I hope everybody enjoys it, and basically thank you very much for all the support as always. And if anyone wants to come through the UK office, give us a shout. We love showing stuff off.
Mentioning that, actually, Bod, who is a member of our cast, actually lives in London.
Okay.
So, and little did he know that a guy he was very good friends with, not that a few years ago, actually works at Foundry 42.
Oh, cool.
One of his mates, old-time mates. So I'm hoping, Bod, go and visit your mate and see Erin and get us a sneak peek inside Manchester office.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Cheers.